What is up, everybody? My name is Angelica. I am an ascended master healer, and I have here in order to help you bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to be giving you a list of 8 foundational things that I learned in my time as a bodybuilder in order to help you in any aspect of life. Let's get into it. Number 1. Consistency is key to anything in life. So as a bodybuilder, it actually started for me about 6 years prior. And I had really gotten into cardio kickboxing and eventually evolved into incorporating weights and resistance training. And so by the time I decided to level up and get into bodybuilding so that I can compete, that was my goal. I had already had quite a bit of consistency going. It really doesn't matter what kind of muscles we're wanting to grow or what aspect of life we want to focus on. Consistency is your best friend. Consistency is going to be the key to building a very strong foundation that will support you going forward no matter what your interests are. Number 2, practice makes progress. Now, I know that the old adage is practice makes perfect, but I have taken the liberty of switching that around. I like the phrase practice makes progress more because I hold the understanding that number 1, I'm already perfect just the way I am. So are you. And number 2, that what my definition of perfection and what someone else's definition of perfection is can be vastly different. But what can remain universally true is that practice makes progress. Every time we practice something, we are making progress. Even if we don't feel like it, even if we're not seeing the results and they haven't manifested yet, it is a part of the process, it's a part of the progression of building a very strong foundation within any focus within life. So practice is essentially the practical application, the physical embodiment of bringing that inspiration that you want to focus on, whether you want to build your spiritual muscles or your actual muscles or your business muscles. It is the practical application. It is the embodiment of bringing that concept into the body and applying it and taking action. Practice makes progress. Practice equals embodiment. Long before I ever became a bodybuilder, I was at home doing videos and practicing in the mirror. I taught myself proper alignment, proper form, proper biomechanics. And I would be in the mirror, squeezing the muscle, really practically applying that and making that mind-body connection so that I could find the quality of movement and the integrity of movement. Integrity plus quality yields really great freaking results. It's okay if you are shaky or if you feel like you don't know WTF you're doing the first 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, you do it. That's okay. That's a part of the process too. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with yourself. It is a part of the process. It's a part of the progression. It's part of building momentum. Consistency plus practice equals momentum, and it's part of creating that foundation in general. This is a progression, meaning we build upon it. It's not we start out the gate and we're experts right out the gate. That's not how it works. Most of us need that time and the practice, the consistency to build over time. And that brings me to number 3. Number 3, give yourself time. Time to learn, time to grow, time to build momentum, and time to build that very, very strong, resilient foundation that is going to support you, that you will still continue to build upon over time. During my whole career in fitness, from the very, very beginning to the very, very end, I was constantly chasing results. And in that space, I could never really take time to appreciate where I was because I was always chasing the next results or to look better or to do this or to do that. So I never allowed myself grace. I never allowed myself to be patient with myself. I was always so hard on myself. Why don't I look like that? Why don't I look like this? I will say here too that when we get in our headspace like this, it's oftentimes because there are beliefs there or maybe traumas there that are limiting us and or holding us back from really experiencing and embodying our greatest potential. And that's where I was. I was always chasing the results. So I was never really present with myself. I was never really appreciative of where I was, and I never gave myself grace. And that's what I learned from that part of my life looking back. That's why I really do my best to be present and to be grateful for where I am now and look at how far I've come. So if you're even just starting, look at how far you've come. You have already come to the realization that you want to grow, that you want to expand. That is huge because so many of us are maybe not there yet. And it's not to compare ourselves to another, but it's just to really give ourselves perspective and awareness of where we are. Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built brick by brick over time. So give yourself time, give yourself space, give yourself patience, and overall give yourself grace and gratitude of where you are. Appreciate that you're in a process and really allow yourself to be immersed in the process and grateful for the process because the process is the point. Which brings me to number 4. Number 4, the process is the point. The destination is in the process. It's in there. Looking back in all of my time in fitness, there were times I was very, very present, very, very appreciative, very graceful, very grateful for that process. But there were a lot of times as well where I was very disengaged with life. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be a part of the process. I just wanted to get to the end, which of course I also knew conceptually there is no end in fitness. You don't just get there and you stop because then you kind of revert back, you lose muscle, etc., etc. So it's not that I didn't know these things conceptually, but internally, I was still operating from a lot of limiting beliefs. I was still holding a lot of trauma that was not processed. I was really tuned out. And over time, fitness became my way of bypassing life and kind of an excuse to just kind of tune out for a while and not have to think about anything. It was my way of coping. And so the process is actually where the magic happens. The process is where the blocks come up, the resistances come up, and this is a really good thing. And you might be asking yourself, why? Because it actually gives us the opportunity to recognize that life is giving us, source, God, whatever you want to call it, is giving us to become more self-aware, to learn about ourselves, to become more clear in who we are, who we want to be, to redefine ourselves, redefine our image, to let the past go, to let that shit go, to clear it out so that we can move through these blocks, these resistances consciously, rather than continuing to unconsciously repeat the same patterns and allow these blocks to just unconsciously rule our lives and rule where we're going and never becoming self-aware in what's actually going on. And I feel like in the Western world, we've become so accustomed to convenience. There's nothing inherently wrong or bad about convenience. It has its place. It's great. It can be a great thing. But there is also a shadow side. There's also can be a detriment in that we become very attached to the convenience, so that we're not actually allowing ourselves to become present. We become attached to that thing that allows us to become apathetic or to numb ourselves or to just kind of cope with life so that we don't have to be truly present with ourselves. That means that there's something going on in here that needs to be addressed, that we need to be present with. When we're attached and addicted to convenience, we tend to go towards that convenience rather than taking the time and the space and the opportunity to get to know oneself and become more self-aware, become more conscious, and become more mindful in our actions, in what we want to do, in taking all of these actions towards creating a new life, creating that solid foundation that's going to support you going forward, that we continue to build on and build on and build on. Learn from my experience. Learn to embrace the process. Learn to be very, very present. If something is coming up for you, if a block or resistance is coming up for you, learn to embrace it. Learn to be like, oh my God, this is amazing because this is here to show me something about myself I didn't know before. That's fucking amazing. The process is the part of the journey that we actually become the person that we're looking to become. So embrace it, love it, devour it, take it in, my friends, take it in. Number 5, do your research. In my fitness career, I always had like my face in a fitness magazine, and back then I worked a 6 a.m. to 2:30 job, and on any break that I had my face in a magazine. And that wasn't so much applicable after I found coaches. They gave me the regimen to follow, so I didn't have to look up recipes and all of these things. But before that, I was absolutely doing my research. I was absolutely reading articles, looking for new moves to use, looking for new workouts to implement into my regimen, and new ways to progress myself, new ways to expand. I really immersed myself in bodybuilding and the fitness world in general. It was so fascinating to me. I was so curious about everything that I just immersed myself in anything that I could learn about the subject. And when I started picking up magazines, I seen how they would compete, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And it took time for me to like work up to that, but that was exposing me into a new world that I might not have considered had I just not done any research. Do your research. It is part of the practical application of empowering ourselves because it is our own experience. It's kind of like being your own experiment, right? You do research, you start to apply it, you give it some time, you give it some space, right? Consistently. You do it, you put it into practice, and then you see whether it works, whether it doesn't. And then you can refine and shift things. It allows us to become more self-aware. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and do the research it takes to really learn about your craft, really learn about your niche. If you want to build a business, there's so much about that. So there's so many things to learn there. Within anything, even in fitness, there's so many branches of fitness that you can learn about that would blow your mind, that you're just like, oh my God. So take the time and the space to learn about it all. Also, follow your guidance, follow your intuition. This is part of the empowerment process, in my opinion. By following our own guidance, see what really works, and also gather feedback. You're allowing yourself to trust yourself more, your discernment more, and you're building that trust within yourself as you are building more self-awareness. So get in there, do your research, empower yourself, and allow yourself to trust your decisions, trust what works for you, and yeah, do your research. Number 6, find what inspires you, because inspiration equals motivation. When I was in bodybuilding, and even before then, I would have my face in these books, right, in these magazines. What I would do cut pictures out of the women whose physique I really admired and aspired to, and I would put them up in my workspace. I also cut out very inspirational quotes that really inspired me and motivated me, and I put those up in my workspace as well. So what would happen was, while I was at work, I was very, very inspired. After work, I go straight to the gym and I do my thing at the gym. I go home and I do my thing there, come back into work, and I'm inspired all over again. And sitting in this energetic space, it allowed me to create a certain momentum for myself. And so over time, with consistency, right, and practice, and keeping myself inspired and motivated to go, over time, I created a certain momentum so that even if there was a day I found myself maybe uninspired to go, I wasn't sure, I had created enough momentum and enough of a groove, right? Enough of a groove that kept me going, that kept me staying consistent, kept me in that groove. So find what motivates you and keep going back to that well of inspiration. Pick from different streams, from like maybe this person's social media over here or this magazine over here, and allow yourself to really take in and inspire yourself in a lot of different ways. Because I know that I constantly needed motivation and inspiration. It's very, very important that we keep ourselves inspired, because inspiration equals motivation. And when we're motivated, we want to keep going back. We want to keep building. We want to keep taking action. And that keeps consistency going, that practical application going over time. So keep yourself motivated and inspired. Yes. Number 7, invest in yourself. Investing is one of the most bestest things you could do. When I decided that I wanted to finally get on stage and I was ready to compete, I decided to find coaches that resonated with me, that were going to help me get to the stage, no matter how long it took. It took me 2.5 years, almost 3 years, just to be clear. These coaches were phenomenal, and I invested my time and money in order to receive that very, very detailed, personalized workout plan, personalized diet plan to support me in all the aspects that I needed in order to step on stage, to look right and tight, and to win. When I got on stage that day, I had gone through so much practice, through so much work, and I had invested in myself the whole way through, that when I stepped on that stage, I won first in novice. I won third in open class. And I was so extremely proud of myself. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to kick ass. I knew I was going to look my best. And I did. And that was because I invested in myself, which held me accountable. I didn't want to let myself down because I had invested my time, my money, my energy in that stream of money, that stream of currency. And in order to receive that support that was helping me to build an even stronger foundation. Now I have a lot of knowledge that I can pass forward in videos like these because I invested thousands in myself during that time. The same in my spiritual journey and in my healing. I've invested, I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars in my own healing. So invest in yourself. It keeps you accountable, as well as it gives you access to the support that you might need, that little extra oomph of support that will carry you into a great deal of success. Number 8, cross-train. An example of this is basically if you're into spirituality, then maybe look into psychology. Maybe do a little studying into philosophy. When I say cross-train, what I really mean is look into different perspectives, different opinions, because that allows us to really be able to see the entire spectrum of what's out there. Really, all anybody is ever sharing is from their perspective, from their experience. which can either have a lot of trauma or a lot of limiting self-beliefs or not. It kind of depends. So in allowing yourself to kind of explore and be curious into others' perspectives that even may be opposing yours or opposing each other's out there, it allows you to really see that it's really all in perspective. It's kind of what resonates with you. Really hit home the value of my own experience of really empowering me to follow my own guidance and to find my own guidance through finding and researching what is out there so that I can really see that my own guidance is showing me something too. And I can always incorporate certain pieces and piece together certain things and maybe find a whole new other modality that works and is even more amazing. But really what I was feeling come through when I had this epiphany about cross training was to build resilience, to build adaptability, to build malleability and resilience in that strong foundation. It's really important to know a lot of different, or even if it's just several different or a couple of different perspectives, because there is a lot of different perspectives out there that people are sharing. And in my experience, it was really invaluable to see over time how there was so much opposing information in fitness, but really what resonated with me was what mattered the most. And that's what I took with me into spirituality. And I'm really allowing myself to remember right now is that it's really about my experience and what resonates truly with me and empowering that, because there are so many opinions, so many perspectives. And yes, I may resonate here and take a little bit of here and here and stitch it all together. And it makes my own unique brand of spirituality, of embodiment. And it really, that's just something that works for me. And it has helped me to adapt, to become more resilient and more malleable in my expression. Bonus number 9, it is rest. Know when to rest, because rest is the time when we integrate, when our muscles replenish, whether it's mental muscles, spiritual, emotional muscles, or, physical muscles. And that's when we actually grow. Because when we are taking in information, when we're working those muscles, that is when we are in a process of destruction. We might be deconstructing certain thought patterns, right? We might be deconstructing and depleting, breaking down the muscle tissue. It's when we rest where there is replenishment. That's when we actually grow. That's when we actually are able to integrate and process the information or the muscle building that we have implemented. So how I learned this was that I kept working out for about 2.5 to almost 3 years, trying to get to my goal of competition. And after competition, my body started breaking down. I literally was saying, my back is broken, because I couldn't bend over without my back almost completely just giving out. My body was trying to tell me for a long time I needed to rest for more than just a couple of hours a day, because I was at it nonstop. I needed rest. I needed to replenish myself. I needed to stretch. I needed more than just to go in there and hit it hardcore. It's great to build an amazing foundation. But if we're not integrating rest into those building phases, then we risk breaking down, whether it's energetically, physically, spiritually, whatever. It's really important to learn how to integrate rest, because as we learn how to do that, that creates a longevity that we're able to sustain. That longevity over time, that allows us to build a strong, resilient foundation that is sustainable for us. It's not extremes. Basically, it has a nice balance to it. So learning how to implement periods of rest into your periods of strengthening, into your periods of growth, will help you to incorporate, to build a really strong, resilient foundation that will carry you, that will support you going forward and bring in the success you're looking to bring in. I really hope these tips helped you. If you found that these tips helped you at all, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. Now that I know my purpose, now that I know what I'm doing, I'm going to be creating more powerful content for you, just based on the experiences that I have brought forth. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to work more with me, all of my links are down below. Please remember that I am co-creating an oracle deck. We are looking for that financial support right now to help us get through this phase so that we can go into the next phase of publishing. We are so close. It is so crazy. Please consider giving us support. Thank you so much for watching. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Bye.